I wanted to go over the assignment, which I briefly went over at the end of week 2, and I wasn't sure whether or not I would still assign it. Further thought, I think I am going to keep it assigned. We have 2 weeks to finish it. It's actually a pretty simple assignment, but I do want to talk about some details on how to complete it. The assignment is sourcing sounds for an asset list. So in this assignment, we are acting as if we are a hired sound designer for a game, and a game designer has provided us with an asset list of requested sounds for the game with some notes and some details about how they would prefer the assets be delivered. The asset list is here in this in this TSV file. This is a plain text file that represents tabulated information, so it's like Excel. You can actually open it in a Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets or Apple's Numbers. GitHub will display it like this, but it really is just a raw text file. So if I look at it in raw, you can see it's just a text file where each of the columns are separated by a tab. So you could use a plain text editor. It's probably easiest to use Google Sheets or Excel. I have a little section on that down here at the end. Let me know if you have any problems with that. That is the asset list. It will have description, asset names, description, file name, which you will fill out. Pay attention to the requested requirements here. Then there's some game designer notes. These are notes on a couple of the assets that the game designer has requested, so please pay attention to those. And then sound designer notes, which is there for you to communicate any information you think is useful back to the game designer. So that's the assignment. It is fairly simple. However, we did not go over actually how to source sounds. So I'll go over this. These, when you're trying to find sounds and you're not going to record them yourself, which we'll get to later in the course, there are a couple places you can go, and there are paid options and there are free options. So I have a couple favorite free options, which I'll talk about. The first one is a website called freesound.org. This site is user-generated, user-submitted content. It is of varying degrees of quality, but there is quite a bit of stuff in here. And actually, a lot of it is pretty good, but you might need to clean it up using some of the basic skills that we have used, that we have learned with Audition. So, for example, if I'm looking for the sound of a cow mooing, I can search cow moo, and I can preview a bunch of these sounds and see which one I like the best. And so I'll play this one real quick. That's not great, but say that is what I wanted. I could download it here. And then, given this file, if it is a file type that Audition can handle, I can open it in Audition. In this case, it's an M4A, which Audition is able to handle. So I'll open that briefly. Here it is. And then we might want to do some things with the sound, like this looks like it definitely needs to be amplified, which I can do this way. And I might want to apply a fade. I might just want the one moo and apply a fade out. That's not great, but if I sat here for a little bit, I might be able to massage it a little bit more and get it sounding better. It also might be that I just need to find a better sound. So this is the pros and cons of freesound.org. Some of these sounds are pretty good. That one sounds a little bit better, but it's kind of the luck of the draw. It's what people have submitted. Not all of these are the most professional sounding things. So there you go. There's another good website called Open Game Art. This is also a user generated. I don't use this one as much, but these tend to be a bit better, but not as many options in my experience. So I just searched cow, and it looks like nothing turned up. So, but I have been able to find some things here on OpenGameArt. Now, the last option, and there are other ones if you search the web, some of which I didn't want to suggest because some of them are of dubious legal quality. But I will give you this pro tip, which is if you're not familiar, there are sites that will allow you to download the audio from YouTube files. So I found one here, YouTube to Wave, loader.to, linked to in the class notes. And what you will do to use this is find a YouTube sound that you like. So we can search YouTube. And say we're still looking for a cow moo. Maybe a little background noise, but that on the whole is pretty good. So I found that YouTube actually has quite a bit of material to use. However, you have to be careful because it is of varying degrees of, there's a lot of legal issues that you can get into as to the rights of these sound clips. For this class, I will wave my hands at that since we're not making anything to sell. We will get into that later in the class, but for now, I'll say this is totally allowed. So yeah, I'll put in copy the URL of the sound, which you can get at the URL bar or on the share bar, the share button, and then paste it into the URL field and download. This website's pretty good. These websites tend to come and go. This one's been up for a while and seems pretty clean. Definitely be careful with these websites. Some of them have a lot of adware on them. Some of them have fake download buttons, so you want to be very careful. This one so far seems okay. So this one seems ready to go, so I'll hit click download. I see that it's downloading a WAV file, so it doesn't look like it's spyware. And there we go. We can open this on Audition. I think I might just want that first moo there. All right. Take a loop off. Not bad. So that could be a useful cow moo. All right, and then paid. So this is where you can actually find some pretty professional quality sound effects. However, you will need to pay for them. A couple sites for these we have that I've linked to in the class notes. There's asoundeffect.com. There's storyblocks.com, which has gotten more and more. I've been impressed with the library they've built up. This is much more tailored toward video content, but there's some pretty good assets in here. And Boom Library, this site tends to sell sound packs, so not one-off sounds, but sometimes you might want to buy a sound pack for a game. Say if you're building an action game, you might want to buy a sound pack that has fight sounds and jumping sounds, things like that. So, and there's actually quite a few other places you can go, and we'll talk about that as the course evolves. These are paid. The good thing about that is paying for them usually will give you'll be free and clear for the rights, so you can put them in a game in which you're going to sell that game, and you should be in the clear as far as royalties. Whereas pulling things from YouTube, it is of dubious legal quality, and I wouldn't suggest it. However, I will be honest and say it does happen a lot in media creation. So it's something to be careful with. Freesound.org, that is all fair use. So these there's a call out for how to use these, but there's no royalties for these. You're free to use them. That's part of the agreement of the website. So we're good there. And then also, if you feel so inclined, You can record your own sound effects. That's scheduled for later in the class, but I will not stop you if you can figure out how to record on your phone or with a USB mic or anything that you might have. By all means, go for it. So yeah, those are the ways to source sounds. Um, I would want you to use Audition to get the sounds up to spec. You definitely will need to name them according to the instructions here, and then you also want them to be 24-bit, 44.1 kilohertz stereo wave file. So sometimes when you find sounds on freesound.org or any other site, be careful, they may not be at that format. That's okay, because you can go to Audition and you can save as, and then you can pick your file type and sample rate and bit depth. So in this case, it's saving at 48K and 16 bits. I'm going to change that to our spec here. I want to go 44.1K and stereo and 24-bit depth. And that's what I want to save this sound file as. So that's everything you should need to go and find sounds. The one thing I didn't cover from week 2 that I did want to cover is EQ. That's a pretty big topic, and I would like to cover that in class so that we can have a discussion about it. If you want to explore what Audition can do, that's a good place. If you're bored with fades and you feel like you want to go poking around with Audition, see what it can do, I would suggest playing around with equalization, trying that out, because that will be something we'll talk about on week 4. Thanks.